Today I'll show you step by step how to make a car animation like the one you're seeing. Of course, if you want to go into more detail, just ask and a dedicated tutorial will come. I apologize for this voiceover, but it's definitely clearer than my Italian accent. So first we choose a car to animate. I'll use this Porsche that I found for free on BlenderKit. First, I select everything by pressing A, and then I press Alt-P and choose Clear and Keep Transformations. This way, the car is no longer constrained to the empty. At this point, we need to rig the car. I made a dedicated video that you can find on the channel on how to rig a car, but I'll do it again. So let's get started right away. I have to make the brakes, the tires, and the body of the car unique elements. So let's start with the tires and the brakes. I hide the elements that make up the body with H. To make them reappear, I just press Alt-H. I start by making the front tires a single object. So I hide the brake, I select the tire and press Ctrl-J, and then I do the same thing with the other tire. Now I'm going to the rear tires. Here we have a problem. We have everything combined, so we need to separate everything in edit mode. To separate the objects, press L on the ones you want to separate, so each brake part, each tire part, and the shock absorbers. You can also use Shift+ to select, but it's slower. Once you've selected an object, press P and select Selection. This part is long and tedious, and I set it ×2. I recommend skipping to the next part. Well, once we have separated all the objects, we need to set the origin of each wheel and its brake to its center. So, very simply, we select a wheel and go into edit mode. Here, press A to select all. Press Alt-S and select Cursor to select it. Now go into object mode and here, Right-click and select Set Origin to Cursor, and do the same thing with the brake. This way, the brake and wheel will rotate around the center of the wheel as in reality. Now I do the same thing for the other brakes and wheels so you can skip them. I forgot to show you, but obviously, just like I did with the wheels and brakes, you also have to join the objects that make up the body of the car with Ctrl-J. Now I'm going to change this green, which I honestly don't like, to a dark blue. Very simply, you just have to change the color of the ramp color. If you want a dedicated video on how to create a realistic material for cars, you can find it on the channel. Now that our car is divided into the right objects, we need to rename these objects by selecting them and pressing F2. I'll copy the names from a car I've already rigged, otherwise it'll take too long, but don't worry, you'll find this car and the file of this video in my Telegram. So now I just need to copy and paste the names of the objects. Once you've changed all the names, go to Blender 3.6, find the link in bio to install it, and download the add-on to rig the car, also this link in bio. Here I paste my car. I add the car deformation rig armor. Then from the add-ons, I select rig car and press generate and then check wheels. Now I copy and paste the model into Blender with the latest version. Now I add a rectangle to make the road, and then I apply a procedural asphalt material to make it more realistic. As lighting, I will use the sky texture from Blender. You can copy the settings I use, but it all depends on you and what lighting effect you want to give to the scene. The light is important, since it is what defines the realism. Poor lighting makes the materials of the objects seem unrealistic, even if they are excellent, and it is therefore likely that I will modify it again later. Now, I add a road barrier to give limits to the road and to put some details. And with Array modifier, I make it reach up to phi and path. Now, I duplicate everything and widen what will be my path. To move the objects precisely, I select an object, press G, and then B to activate the selection snaps. Always remember to press Ctrl plus S and save your project because Blender might crash suddenly. That's right, I made this video twice. Okay, now that we have the car rigged, we need to animate it. First, I'll add a curve that will be our path. I'll go into edit mode and modify the curve to make it a path I like. To lengthen it, I'll select a vertex and press E. But be sure to scale the vertices, otherwise the path won't be curved enough, and there will be sharp edges that will make it look unrealistic and ugly. Now I select the car rig. I go into pose mode. Here I select the rig that is at the bottom. I add a follow path bone constraint. On target, I put my curve. On forward axis, I put -Y given that the car is oriented in that direction. I check follow path. Up axis, I put Z. And now by changing the offset, the car moves. While I am at the starting frame, I press I on offset to set a keyframe. Then I go to the final frame, I increase the offset until the car reaches the end, and I press I again. So I have animated the car, and it will follow the path to increase or decrease the speed, you just have to play with the keyframes. For example, to make it go faster, you just have to move the keyframes closer together, since in this way the car travels the distance in less time. Now, I add a cam. When I find a shot I like, I just press Shift plus Alt 0. To make the cam follow the car, I just select the cam, then Shift plus select the car, press Ctrl plus P and choose Object. Now the camera will follow the car. Now I want to animate the cam and make it rotate around the car. So at the starting frame, I press I on rotation and location, and then I press I again on location and rotation when I find myself in the frame I prefer. To move the cam freely, I just press N, go to view, and here check camera to view. But I recommend that once you find the shot, deactivate camera on view, otherwise every time you move the shot changes. I select the camera I have, and at the initial frame I press Ctrl plus B, and then I view in another frame like 100 and press Ctrl plus B again. Then I add a new camera, select it, go to frame 101 and press Ctrl B. This way I can switch from one camera to another during the animation without having to do lots of animations with different shots. Now I animate this new camera too, then I do the same thing and add another one. This part is a bit boring, but I'll leave it so you understand the work that goes into animating the cam. The next step will be to give the vibration effect to one camera so you can skip to there. To give a vibration effect to a cam, I select the cam, I go to the graph editor. Here I select X Euler rotation, I go to modifiers and add a noise. I increase the scale, decrease the strength until I find the right compromise. By doing this, you have this realistic vibration effect. You can obviously do the same thing with the rotations of the other axes. Now I add some fog to the scene to give it more realism. The fog is very simple to create. You just need to add a cube and scale it appropriately, and then in shading mode put a principled volume and connect it to volume, and then you have to lower the density based on how you like it. Then I added some vegetation, taking the assets from the Botanic add-on, which in my opinion is the best for vegetation. So in the end, it becomes quite simple to create this animation. For the rendering settings, I will make a dedicated video where I will show you how not to take 6 hours for each frame and maintain the quality, so follow me. Obviously, if you have any problems, write on Telegram or in the comments. You can find the Telegram link in the description where you will find the file for this project. Video is finished. I hope you enjoyed it. So thanks and see you next time.